Before I end up putting this into my pile of stuff I need to get to, I'm just gonna get this out of the way. I have already mentioned multiple times in my previous video, Twitter, and everywhere else that I went to Anime Expo this year. They had the JoJo panel where they showed the first episode of part 5, but the thing is, there was a lot to get through first, so I'll be talking about that here. So the first thing I want to be talking about is getting there. To get to the JoJo panel, you obviously have to wait in line. Now, that's perfectly fine, but I don't know what had happened to end up having this line outside, but that's exactly what happened. Note that it was over 105 that day. Now, I'm from Arizona, and I can manage against the heat pretty well, but there were a lot of other people either that left completely, had to take a break inside with someone holding their spot, or just nearing almost passed out. I saw one person getting picked up by someone else and got dragged back inside because it was legitimately too hot for them. I ended up holding the spot of around 2 different people, I think, because they just wanted to cool off or to get some water. And to think about this, I was out there for around 2 hours. There were people ahead of me, and they were even there longer than that. All of that in this heat. Now, they probably didn't expect for there to be this heat wave coming through to California, but thinking about it, if you're going to be putting people outside in the summer for a good amount of time, just have some type of roof that extends out so people have some shade to work with. There was actually some people over there to our right that weren't even in line, had large amount of shade. It was ridiculous. After that waiting, we were sitting in the room of the JoJo panel, and it was huge. Like, there was around 2,000 or more people in this one room, and I heard that there was apparently around 4,000 people in there, but I don't know. I don't know what 4,000 people in a huge room looks like, but it could have been like that. Also, completely forgot to include this into the script, but the lines were so disorganized. They just kept on getting out of hand. No one knew where to go. There was no people directing what was going on. We messed up the lines. I'm just like everyone that was in there. I think the lines messed up like over like 4 different times in the span of like 30 minutes, and it was ridiculous. I did just that alone. So then there was the actual panel itself. Now there was the old editor for Viz being Uriam Brown and the new editor David Brothers. Brown had given the crowd and Brothers some trivia about JoJo, and specifically to Brothers there were some questions which transitioned into the confirmation of Diamond is Unbreakable manga being officially translated and released into the future. Now the thing is, there will be no part 4 JoJoniums. JoJoniums have been discontinued, but the manga will still be released. And while I was sitting there genuinely puzzled, at the same time I really wasn't. On Twitter, I had talked about how JoJonium should be released with their respective part. And I know that they're fairly new, but we should be blowing past these so that we can have our manga ahead or side by side with the anime, depending on either dub or sub. My thing is that we've been heavily involved with Stardust Crusaders for a pretty long time. It's new to dub, but they're nearing almost the end. But for the rest of the world, we've been pretty deep in it already, and it would be fine that it would be, if it was the only JoJo part, it would have been fine. But if you have so many other parts after 3, why wouldn't we just be there already? And it's not like people don't like Stardust Crusaders. It's one of, or if not the most iconic part off of the manga alone, and the anime did great for what it was. It's just that there was this oversaturation in a sense. Even with the Diamond is Unbreakable anime being the last animated part, it feels like we're still in part 3. With the part 3 Blu-ray, part 3 JoJoniums, the dub is out on Toonami. It's the most out there part at the moment, and it's probably because of the dub, but yeah. You would hope that there would be some representation for the more general fans, but that doesn't really apply. It's just that wherever JoJo is airing and what language it's in, that will show what area will be getting the chance to support what part. Japan obviously having a bunch of part 4 merch along with Rohan OVA stuff, and the West being filled with part 3. I would love the ability to continuously support the franchise no matter where I am, but that's not really how it works, I think. I've seen this been the same case with other anime and video games, so I shouldn't be as surprised. I think the only only franchise with huge care for the all-around fan base has so far been My Hero Academia. But yeah, no Diamond is Unbreakable JoJoniums, no more JoJoniums. No more JoJoniums ever again. Unless somehow they need us to, they want us to show support or something which will make me think of another video that'd be pretty good for that. Like, hopefully get something out to them and show them that the fan base really does care. It's just that we've been stuck in part 3 for so long. We would love to show support for part 4 then on, because we kind of always been on past that. And the next thing of news was that the part 4 dub had been announced, and I think that's great. That means somewhere around the winter, which would be like, so I guess like halfway through the anime, or maybe even like nearing the end, who knows. No, it's like halfway through. We should be expecting a lot of part 4 merchandise. Then sometime in the future we get the part 4 manga fully translated, so that's cool. The thing is, while that's happening in the West, the more general fan base is going to be deep inside of part 5. While I sit here and hope for all of us to have even ground, it's probably not gonna happen. It's cool though, I guess. I can pretty much deal with that. It's not a humongous deal to me, I guess. I don't remember whether it was before the announcement or after, but they brought in the director of the JoJo anime, Naokatsu Suda, and he was probably the best part of the panel for me. It's mostly because I don't really have much of an interest with stuff that doesn't really circulate around the franchise in the area where I mainly focus on. He talked about how much care goes about in JoJo and how much he cares about JoJo and how much he tries to make the anime as accurate as he read it. And while he is the creative director, he doesn't always have full involvement in certain episode things. When he does storyboarding, you will see a lot of flair for that respective episode and all those ones that he's involved with. And you can pretty much tell with like, oh man, this kind of doesn't add up in this area. Like for example, the Vanilla Ice fight, and he wasn't in that area. Which it doesn't really take away from the other episodes. You can pretty much just tell that where his involvement is. There's a whole list of it. He also spoke about Araki's involvement in the anime, and I could always tell the places where Araki really is the most involved because it's a pretty easy area. I don't want to actually speak on it now because I have a video in the works for it, but you guys will be able to see later. After all of that, they had 3 of the English voice actors come out on stage and answer some things. They had Patrick Seitz, Chris, and Billy Kometz. Yeah, I think that's how you say it. I know the last name of Avdol's voice actor, which is the Chris guy I just mentioned, but I'm really not trying to mess it up because it was a difficult one, and I'm referring to anyone. I'm referring to everyone by their first name. So Patrick Seitz is Dio, you have Chris as Avdol, and Billy Kometz is your new voice of Josuke. So Patrick has always been a pretty cool voice actor in my opinion. I'm not really an avid dub watcher. I pull into Toonami sometimes, but I really do like his Dio. Chris has a pretty good Avdol, but I believe that he should be in more roles where the character is more knight based, like royalty knight, like knights of like kings and stuff like that. He has this royal thing going on in his voice and it's so great, but it should really just, him sitting with Avdol is like, I feel like Avdol is like it's like a middleman between it all. I feel like he could like go for higher role characters. I believe both Chris and Patrick honestly deserve a lot of other roles because they're actually really good voice actors. I have yet to hear anything from Billy aside from a line or two he did at the panel, but I'll be waiting to see it. So far, he sounds like one of those members of that little group Kuwabara had going in Yu Yu Hakusho before Yusuke and him became friends. It was when Kuwabara looked like he was in a gang basically. And I don't really see Billy as Josuke, honestly, but I'll be waiting to see it. I'm pretty sure he'll do a pretty good job at it. Then there was some trivia going on and a cosplay contest, and a Speedwagon did ridiculously well in that contest, not just because it was Speedwagon, but because it was a newer character to the contest. I saw a lot of Dios and Jotaros, so I'm not surprised that everyone was supporting the Speedwagon. In the end, Kira won. Luck was on his side. And I was going for the Kira that whole time. And in the trivia, I'm guessing it was more for the quote-unquote general fan, like the whole anime area of JoJo. And like even a little bit above that too, like nearing dub. Because there were some pretty easy questions like, oh, what does Joseph have to do to get his Hermit Purple to work? And there was the whole destroying camera, all that type of stuff. And I know it sounds dumb of me of all people to call the JoJo trivia easy because it looks like, oh, Caleb, you're so involved in JoJo. But it's really, I just retain a lot of what I watch and read when it comes to stuff like JoJo and stuff that I really do like. I only really talk about JoJo on Twitter and YouTube. With friends, it's mostly about anime and other games, mainly fighting games, like, I guess Smash is technically one now. Fighters and Marvel and stuff like that. So, I don't know, maybe I should really talk about what I'm interested in more, so more people can know that I'm not just like a purely JoJo person to my deathbed. I don't think that there was really anything else that I need to speak on, because my memory is terrible and I can't remember whether or not if that's all happened, but I think I'm gonna call it here. Oh wait, I didn't put this in the script, but I can easily just mention this. So there was a moment where it's so weird. Urian had ended up, Brown had ended up asking questions to all the voice actors, and he has a bunch of questions to them. It was the same trivia stuff for us. So he asked the voice actor of Josuke. He asked the voice actor of Josuke, "Oh, if you bumped into Dio at a party, what would you say?" And he said, "What did you say about my hair?" And I was like, I sat there, I was confused as shit. I was like, what the fuck? You didn't even say anything about your hair. I guess he was like, he really wanted to get that out there, because like the questions that they had didn't really add up to what he was going to, like, it wouldn't come up to a Josuke line. They were pretty obscure questions. But that was I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing a lot in videos, I'm sorry. But that was a really odd area. So yeah, that's just a little story time with Caleb, I guess. Thank you guys all for watching. If you want to see my review on the first episode of part 5, you can go to my channel or wait for the end cards. Expect a Hunter video next, because I've been talking a lot about JoJo as of recent, and I don't want to do that too much. I'll see you guys on the next one. Until then, peace out and Godspeed.